and we'll help in every way we can. We stand with the victims. Okay. One more.
Can the survivors speak to, speaking of being threatened and being afraid to come forward with the story, to the case of Katie Johnson, who alleged that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't think we can talk about. I don't think we can talk about that case. I do think it's worth saying, though, despite the comments that he made, Virginia Roberts Giuffre is an American hero. She is somebody. She is somebody without whom we would not be able to have this voice. She was the one who had courage to name names, speak out against people, and she was standing up against everybody at one time with an enormous amount of pressure.
And most of these women are here because of Virginia Roberts Giuffre. So,
all right, last one.
Clearly not us.
I don't think that anybody knows, but I can tell you that in the oversight committee meeting yesterday, they indicated that they were all for transparency, releasing the files, and asked us to hold them accountable. Isn't that right?
Yes.
They said hold them accountable, so we intend to hold them accountable.
That's up to them.
We're going to show them where to go with it, and as long as they're doing their job, they should. I'm going to turn it back over to Bill Connor. Thank you.
Let me just say this. Let me say this. I think the people back who are testifying here today or speaking out today, they are American heroes. Let's give them another round of applause. And you say, look, Thomas, Marjorie, and I, we're huge believers in the First Amendment, and we believe in free speech, and we take abuse all the time. But you see why it's so hard to do what they have done, because they come forward and you subject yourself to national scrutiny and national questioning. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart how appreciative I am and how proud I am of what you've done today. You made a big difference. Before I bring on Marjorie and then Thomas will have the last word, I want to summarize three basic things that I heard from the survivors. First, they want to know why our government covered up for someone rich and powerful. Why is it that we have two Americas? People say, why do you need to release the Epstein files if Epstein is dead and Maxwell is in jail? Because we don't know who all was involved in the cover-up. Why are there rich and powerful people who didn't have justice? They want to know that. Second, many said it's important for their own closure. They don't know their own abuse. They want to understand what's in these files for themselves. And third, we heard that there are many others who obviously were involved. And they want to know, and the American people deserve to know what was there in those files. I actually think they're helping us come together as a country. I've never done a press conference with Marjorie Taylor Greene before. I've done some with Tuss, but look, this country is divided and exhausted. This is one thing that we can come together on. And I was very clear with Thomas. This is not against President Trump. I would like nothing more than a Truth Social post for him after this press conference saying, just release the files. Be with Massie Khanna. This is about something much deeper. It is about bringing this country together to stand for America's kids, to restore trust, and to move this country forward. So thank you to the survivors for helping us do that. Now I want to introduce Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thank you.
Thank you. For everyone watching at home, I think it's important to put yourself in these women's shoes. As you're questioning, why can't they just name the names? What you don't realize is they just told their stories of being raped and being abused, being victimized, being manipulated, being coerced, and basically held in a prison of captivity of sexual abuse while they were young teenagers and extremely young, vulnerable women. And in Jeffrey Epstein's home and the places they went with him, they saw the most powerful people in the world in his pictures, and they saw him with those people. Can you imagine how terrifying it would be to name names like that? These are some of the richest, most powerful people in the world that could sue these women into poverty and homelessness. Yeah, it's a scary thing to name names, but I will tell you, I'm not afraid to name names. And so if they want to give me a list, I will walk in that Capitol on the House floor and I'll say every damn name that abused these women. I can do that for them, and I'd be proud to do it. Now, another thing, this is not about politics, and this is a boiling point in American history where the American people, just like Roe just said, there's become two Americas. There's the America for the rich and the powerful and the elite, where they never face any struggles or problems and never experience what real America goes through. And then there's forgotten America that faces all the problems and deals with all the issues and never gets justice for being sexually assaulted and raped by a monster. It shouldn't exist anymore, and people are sick of it. So let's recognize the fact that the administration before and the one before it and the one before it and the one before it and before it never did anything about this. So this isn't one political party or the other. It's a culmination of everyone worked together to silence these women and protect Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal. And this is not just rich, powerful people. Think his drivers, his maids, his chefs, all the people, people that worked in his home, security guards. I heard one story from a young woman that was being raped by Jeffrey Epstein when he was out on work release while he was serving time in prison and had an ankle monitor on his leg. Guess what? There was a police officer outside that door. So this list of names is quite a list of names, and it doesn't extend just in the rich, powerful circles. It extends down to the very bottom where people were paid. And again, I will say this, there's victims suffering today in similar circumstances, and they're terrified to name the names of the people that are currently abusing them. And so with these brave, courageous women fighting this fight, this is a fight for women and children and any person that is facing sexual abuse and rape and captivity and human trafficking right now. And so here's what I ask you in the press. Don't go for salacious headlines. Go for the truth and defend these women and help those of us in Congress that are crossing our political party lines for doing the right thing and trying to do it together. And thank you, Roe, and thank you, Thomas. And now I recognize Thomas Massey from Kentucky.
Well, there's three branches of government, and we're supposed to keep each other accountable. And that's what we're doing here today in the People's House. We're standing in front of the People's House with real people, not a hoax. And they've told their story. We wanted to give them a platform to speak, and they've had it. They stepped up, and they were brave. But I also today hope that they would persuade my colleagues to join this effort. But I found out something today that happened that I wasn't expecting. They persuaded me to fight even harder. I'm not going to give up. And I want to end with this call to action. First, a call to action to my colleagues who, just an hour before this press conference, were prepared. They were given a fig leaf. We'll put a resolution on the floor so that you can say that you voted to protect the survivors. Their resolution doesn't really do anything. And that's the oldest trick in the swamp. When you want to kill the momentum, when you want to kill initiative, you introduce a placebo, a different bill that does nothing, and then try to pull the wool over the eyes of the American people. That's not going to happen this time. We demand real accountability. I encourage my colleagues, please, there's over 200 Republicans who have not signed this discharge petition. We only need 2 of them to sign it, and every Democrat will sign it, and that will get us the number we need to force this vote, to pass a law, not a polite request to the DOJ to police themselves. No, we need legally binding legislation to force that to happen. And my main call to action is to the people watching these live feeds that are going through these cameras right now. Congressmen, listen to you. light up their phones, burn down the phone lines here in Washington, D.C. Ask them the questions that these survivors wanted you to ask them. Why won't you be for transparency? Don't accept their answer that the bill has a flaw or that the survivors don't want it. We know that's not true. They wouldn't be fighting it so hard in this town if it wasn't the real bill. So with that, please call your congressman. Tell him or her to get on this bill and to stand up for these survivors. Thank you and God bless. That's the end.
Thank you guys very much. This is unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Congressman Massey. Congressman Massey.
Yeah.
Are there any two Republicans that you know about who are on and why are Republicans so apprehensive to just move forward?
They've been threatened by the White House, which has done a 180. The lawyer here said he would like for the president to go back to his position 9 years ago. I'd like him just to go back 9 months ago to his position.
Thomas Massey, what's some of the kickback you're getting back from your colleagues? What are some of the reasons why they don't want to endorse this?
They're being threatened. I mean, look, I've got $2 million of ads running against me back in my district, and it's funded by 3 billionaires. One of them's in Epstein's black book. I mean, this is what happens. Your consultants, your political consultants will abandon you when the White House gets mad at you. The speaker will block all of your bills. They'll shut down your fundraising. This isn't political, but it is. I mean, the opposition to this is very political.
What's your impression of what's your president of the White House seeming to whip against this vote so actively?
I have no idea why they're doing it, other than I do believe they're trying to protect some people who are rich and powerful and connected, like Republican donors.
But Speaker Johnson, his efforts as well.
He's just doing what the White House is telling him, frankly.
Yeah.
He was for transparency for about 24 hours, and then he got tuned up by the White House.
What would you say to the 200 Republicans? What would you say to the 200
look at the
Republicans weren't?
Barack emails that were leaked over the last week?
I saw some of those.
And
yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein's involvement with the app known as Carbine, which is currently rolled out in 23 states across the United States?
I'm not that familiar with that. I'm spending most of my time trying to pour through the 35,000 pages that were released yesterday, and what I found out are pages completely redacted, entire flight logs completely redacted. So this is a non-release, and the danger that Republicans are running, particularly the administration right now, is recreating the debacle that the Attorney General Bondi had when she gave out the binders, and then everybody took them home and found out it was information they already had. What we need from this oversight committee investigation are criminal referrals. Otherwise, it's just an exercise in paperwork.
What do you say to the voters in?
That you are not backing down and this issue is not going away?
I'm not backing down. I will not back down. These survivors have convinced me that to do everything that I can. I mean, I think I already am, but I can probably think of some more things to do every
But
day.
if you don't have 2 more votes from your Republican colleagues to the end of the day, so what's the implications?
Well, it's not the end of the day.
So if you don't,
Is today the deadline?
Well, procedurally what happens is this discharge petition remains active until the end of Congress. So for 14 more months, we'll be waiting for 2 signatures unless we get them today. And so the Republicans are better to just pull off the Band-Aid and have this vote. It then would go to the Senate, and the Senate has to vote on this. And so those are the next steps. But I think what's going to happen is that the fig leaf that the Speaker has offered my colleagues on my side of the aisle is going to shrink up and go away. And then they will be exposed, as was the case with the Phase 1 binders that the DOJ released. And the outrage will be even greater because they've raised expectations, not among those of us who know that this is not going to reveal anything helpful, but they've raised expectations, and then they're going to not deliver anything, and that's very dangerous.
Have there been Republicans in the Senate that have expressed support?
Republicans who might be wavering on signing this?
Well, my message is it's an opportunity. Once we get 2 more signatures, we're not collecting more signatures. So be one of those two that are on the right side of history, because once we get the two, the door gets closed and it will proceed to a vote, and then you'll be back into one of 435.
Have there been Republicans in the Senate that have expressed support to you, even just in the lead up to it potentially going to the Senate?
Yes, I think Senator Markey was working on a companion legislation.
And any Republicans who've expressed support in the Senate?
Not that I know of yet. So that would be, if people are working on a second call to action, it would be, what are you doing in the Senate? We've got this going in the House. Where's the activity in the Senate?
Why do you think the administration is putting this out there that this would be a hostile act to support your struggle?
Well, they've dug in. They decided they don't want it released. So it's a threat. It's a political threat. I think it's also an insult. I mean, was this a hostile action for these survivors to come testify at the House of Representatives? Is it a hostile action that 3 women co-sponsored this legislation on the Republican side? Why is the White House trying to bully women in Congress who are trying to protect women who are just regular people who haven't been heard? That's a question that needs to be asked. And finally, where are the men? We're the men on the Republican side of the aisle. They need to step up and just basically tell the White House, look, I support your ideology at the White House, but on this issue, you're wrong. 80% of the base, 80% of the people who elected Donald Trump want these files released, and the other 20% aren't paying attention to the issue. So it's the right thing policy-wise, and it's the right thing political-wise. They just have to disassociate themselves from a few billionaire donors that they feel indebted to.
Are you personally worried at all by the White House's threats against you or Representative Martin Taylor Greene?
No, I'm the threat that's already happened. I mean, they're already running $2 million of ads against me. It's 3 billionaires, 2 hedge fund managers. One of them is in Epstein's Black Book.
Who are these billionaires?
John Paulson is one of them. Paul Singer is another, and Miriam Adelson is the other. But the one who's in Epstein's Black Book is John Paulson.
What conversations have you had?
By the way, those are max donors to the Speaker of the House. They're max donors to the NRCC. They're max donors to the RNC. They're max donors to Trump's campaign. These are 7- and 8-figure donors, and those are among the people who don't want these files released.
What conversations have you been having with your colleagues to try to convince them to back this bill, especially with the Speaker criticizing the language? He's called this inartfully drafted. He's raised some specific criticism.
What's interesting is the Speaker calls it inartfully drafted, but my staff and I were honored that he lifted 3 entire pages without changing the punctuation from my draft and put it in his draft. It was very carefully drafted in consultation with the parliamentarian, with the Ledge Council, with the nonpartisan group here in Congress, and among my staff. So it's most of my effort has been in basically dispelling the lies that the Speaker has been compelled to tell about the legislation. One of those lies is he says this would endanger the victims and the survivors. Well, they just all raised their hand and said they support the legislation. So hopefully we've at least dispelled that for my colleagues. And I've also warned my colleagues, they're inside of a bubble right now. Eventually they got to go home and be accountable to their people. Their people are going to watch this press conference today. The people are going to go through the 34,000 individual pages that were released last night, and they're going to find there's one real effort, and then there is another effort that's managed by the White House. The DOJ release to the Oversight Committee is completely managed by the White House. It's not like they refused to give over the documents they were subpoenaed, and the Oversight Committee went and seized those documents. No, they said, listen, that subpoena is not necessary. Here, why don't we give you some documents? We'll make the redactions we want to make, and that subpoena will be unnecessary. That's what's happening. It's a negotiated exchange.
One of the Speaker's arguments.
From the White House. Why is there so much resistance from the White House?
I just think it's a lot of politically connected donors, and then also maybe Acosta, who's the one who originally gave a light sentence or was involved in that to Jeffrey Epstein, which allowed him to continue his time.
One of the Speaker's arguments has been that your resolution will force the release of names of people in the file who might not have been,
could just be tangentially related, and then they're in the public sphere being associated with this, and then you're kind of wrapping them up as the innocent.
So we need to release all the names, and I think the American people can figure out which of those names were part of Epstein's scholarship fund and which were a part of Epstein's sex ring.
Do you have the members in mind who could be Republicans in
I have 200.
Everyone's on the
You're live on an X space, right?
Do you feel like you're David versus Goliath right now?
It's not an unfamiliar position to me. I have climbed these stairs over here more than once and been the youngest person. I've been against the White House before and survived. They passed the CARES Act and they said, we're not going to even come to Washington, D.C. to vote on it. I came here and forced them all to show up. I said, you're going to cause massive inflation with this bill. You're going to wreck our economy. They did that. But I forced them to come here. I've been in this position before. I've been fighting with the economy before, together, on the same fights to try and expose the wars that didn't need to be started and wars that need to be ended. And we're familiar with the parliamentary tricks that they use here. I served on the Rules Committee. I'm familiar with the trickery that they're engaged in today with the resolution on the floor of the House that came out of the Rules Committee that gives them the big lead. And watch for one other trick. If we get to 218 signatures, they may try to change the rules in the House of Representatives that day, so the discharge petitions are no longer allowed from Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna. They can do that, but they have to get 218 votes to do it. That would become the vote of record to hide the Epstein files.
Mr. Massey, how many Republicans are on board now?
There are 4. Myself and 3 Republican members. I want to know where the men are.
Do you have hope that it will be enough?
We need 2 more. I'm hopeful there'll be enough.
Are you arranging the men kind of bailing? For recently, it's about 10. Now it's huge.
I think the women are more brave in the face of the White House. And look at who the women are. They're supporters of Donald Trump. Nancy Bower, Marjorie Taylor Greene. This isn't political. I know some Democrats are trying to make it political and some Republicans are trying to make it political. Our base, and even the Democrat base, are all in the same place on this. This might not be the biggest issue in America right now, but it is the issue everybody can agree on.
One of these victims today, I think it was Miss Davis, said that Bill Clinton was in Africa with him, traveling with him. Don't you think that Republicans really should be for this to get the truth about the Clintons out?
Honestly, I think a lot of people are going to be embarrassed. Half on both sides of the aisle, powerful political figures will be embarrassed. But that's not a reason to not do this, is to avoid embarrassment for somebody. And again, I don't think Jeffrey Epstein was particularly partisan in his sex ring and all of the malfeasance that he committed and the friends. It's basically a group of people that don't need to belong to a party because they don't report to the law when they do things.
Are you arranging for the victims to speak with some of the folks on the Republican side that maybe
I'm not arranging that. There's at least one member of Congress who's asking.
5,000 libraries right now. What is the one thing, if they only had a minute of their day today, what's the most effective thing they could do to help move the needle for you guys on getting these last 2 votes or last 2 signatures to the discharge petition?
I would say call your congressman if he or she is a Republican. If your congressman is already on the bill, don't make the phone call. But that's what we need, and if you're looking for people who might be persuadable, I think they're all persuadable. Also, look at the 10 Republicans who co-sponsored the legislation who haven't yet signed it. They must be under immense pressure from the White House not to sign this. They need to hear from their voters, not from other people outside of their district, only the people who can vote for them. Be polite. Don't say, I'll never vote for you again if you don't do this. And hear the 2 cents in those phone calls. And don't give up. It's going to take persistence.
Does it feel like standing up against the president?
Does it feel like
standing up against President Trump doing this?
Not to me, but the attorney here said that they just want the president to adopt the position he had 9 years ago. I just want him to adopt the position he had 9 months ago, which was his attorney general and vice president said that they need a full release of it, and that there was material.
You haven't been pressured to drop this?
They're $2 million of ads That's okay.
Have you been getting
By the way, the survivors face far more pressure and far worse consequences than any politician up here. Nobody should be afraid to stand up for these survivors because they're going through so much. It's petty to think that we're being punished politically for this.
Congressman, just a quick question.
That almost every member of Congress has been supported by AIPAC. For all the members that do not support your bill, will you support an independent movement to kick them out of office to replace Congress?
Which was the question there? I don't support kicking all of my colleagues out of Congress. I do support them doing the right thing. It's not always about getting the right person elected. Most of the time you're going to get the wrong person to do the right thing.
Congressman, you may have gone over this, I'm sorry, but the White House is a hostile act. Do you view this as a hostile act?
I don't think what the survivors did today is a hostile act. I don't think this is a hoax. The White House has used a lot of rhetoric, which is not appropriate for this situation. It's never a hostile act to stand up for survivors of conflict. Maybe politically, it's a hostile act to some of the both parties, but I think it is a hostile act to the small one.
Are you asking or applying any pressure to other Republicans to sign off on this, and if so, who and how are you doing it?
I can't apply pressure.
You haven't spoken to any of them?
I don't apply pressure. The only people that can apply pressure to my colleagues are the constituents, the people who can vote for them.
But have you asked them personally to sign off?
I've asked several of them to sign off.
And who is that?
Well, actually, I asked everybody at the conference this morning to sign it. When the speaker was disseminating false information about this resolution that will become a bill, I stood up, counteracted the false information, and requested all of them.
But not individually?
I've talked to a few individually.
And their responses?
They're there. I can't tell you the response verbatim. It's pretty obvious that they're at the White House. Otherwise, this is a no-brainer. It's politically a no-brainer. If they're in a tough district to win between Republicans and Democrats, independents support this bill. That's how you win your next election. You support this bill. If you're in a district where that's all Republicans and you know the Republican is going to win, then Republicans support this 80%. The Democrats support this. We weren't here to make a political case today, but that's the case you have to make to my colleagues.
But how is it a no-brainer, though? I mean, if you're going to have the President of the United States and his donors coming out against him, potentially running primary.
Because ultimately the donors can't vote, and the constituents are overwhelmingly supportive of this issue, so they could spend any amount of money on this issue.
Well, they won't spend the money on this issue, right?
Yeah, they'll spend
All right, you guys, I'm going to try to get
But you build a trust with your constituents when they see you take stand on this. And, I mean, people don't want to rubber stamp for a congressman. They're supportive of the president. But almost all of the president's supporters know he's wrong on this issue. So you can gain a lot of credibility right now by staking out a position that's consistent with the president's position 9 months ago.
How much do you think they still care? Because you hear Charlie Kirk saying, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. There's a perception among some that, Donald Trump said not to talk about this, we're not going to talk about it. How prevalent do you think that is among just your ordinary voters?
I have heard congressmen, as recently as yesterday, at a closed meeting say, don't know, don't care. Well, it's time to know, and it's time to care. And so whether it's a social media influencer, I know people are somewhat worn out on this topic. They've heard the Epstein, even the survivors talked about how they don't like it when new conspiracy theories come out that can't be dispelled because there's no release of the files. So the best way, if you're a social media influencer and you're sick of this topic, or if you're a congressman and you're sick of this topic, the best way to make it go away is to release all the files.
What specifically in the bill is it that they're pushing through?
Well, right now, the DOJ is basically investigating themselves. They're curating the release of all this material to the Oversight Committee. The Oversight Committee is only getting what the DOJ wants them that is why the White House or the DOJ might consider it adverse to them to pass my bill, because my bill would force them to release the material. It's not a request. It's not even a subpoena. It's a law. It's a requirement to give us this information.
When something like this happens, usually the White House will do whatever they can to distract.
Let me take
okay.
it.
Why won't other Republicans kind of offer it?
It's pretty simple. They're afraid of the White House. There are people at the White House that you communicate with at different levels, and at all of those levels, they are engaged on this. So the Legislative Affairs Department of the White House is engaged. Staff at the White House is engaged with staff, members of Congress. The President himself is engaged with members of Congress. You've also got members of Congress running for statewide elected offices, and they cannot afford to alienate the President. Maybe they could take one or two positions that are adverse to the President and still get reelected to Congress, but they feel like that's going to hurt them in the statewide campaign.